All right, I want you, let's think about the last time you lost money, time, sleep, mental bandwidth in crypto. And I want you to be honest with yourself about what you did next. Probably stayed up later. You probably opened more charts, refreshed your portfolio more than often than you have been. You probably doubled down on your research, pushed harder, because that's what you were taught. That's what your father taught you. This is what school teaches you. This is what the entire architecture of Western civilization is built on. Work harder, push more, try more, be hard. Right. But here's what nobody tells you. In the markets, in the physics of wealth, that instinct is not actually a virtue. It's actually a trap. It's a mechanism of your own financial destruction. The harder you try, the more you repel what you're actually trying to attract. So I welcome you and step in. If you don't want to, see you later. Welcome to the quantum paradox of effort. Every piece of financial education you've ever received would design something called the Newton universe, a linear universe where action A produces result B, where if you study more, you earn more, where 80 hours of effort produces twice the result of 40. But we don't live in a Newton universe. We live in a quantum one. And in a quantum universe, the laws of wealth are not linear. They are non-local probabilities, probabilistic. They operate on frequency, not force. This is why 90% of retail losers, you're not losers, traders lose money. Not because you don't know enough, because many of them know way too much. You guys are quite intelligent people, but you know every indicator. You read every book under the sun. They've watched more charts than most professionals do, but they still lose because they are playing the wrong game with the wrong physics. So consider this. Consider this trader. He's at his screen at 2 a.m. Eyes burning, red candles basically going bye-bye, failing. Their hands are gripping the mouse like it's the wheel of a ship in a storm. He's going to force his trade to work. He's going to will the market into submission. And the market doesn't even know he exists. The market is not fighting him. The market is just a probability field. And he's broadcasting so much desperate energy, so much fear, so much need that his judgment is completely destroyed. He cannot see clearly because he's too close. He cannot think clearly because he's too emotional. He cannot act wisely because he's too attached to a specific outcome. And Elon calls this the scarcity vortex. There we go. But when you need something to so badly, you begin to actually repel it. In 1927, Werner Heisenberg, discovered something that should have permanently ended the way we think about effort. Jesus mentioned this, practiced this, taught this, but he just simply called it the uncertainty principle. It states that the more precisely you try to measure the position of a particle, the less you know about its momentum. And the more you try to pin something down, the more it actually will escape you. In other words, the act of trying to control something actually distorts the very thing you're trying to measure. And tension itself wraps the field. So now think about what happens to your body when you're trying too hard. The muscles grip, your breath shortens, the blood pressure rises. Now, cortisol floods the brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible for pattern recognition and clear decision-making, reading the room, begins to shut down because it's simply under high stress. Maximum effort conditions, your brain literally cannot see the opportunity that is calling out to you, that's presented right in front of you. And that's just why your best trades came when you're more relaxed. Your best ideas came in the shower, not at the desk. Your biggest financial breakthrough probably came when you almost given up. Not because God rewards surrender, because surrender removed that interference. The antenna of your consciousness was finally clear. All right, say no, not done. The chamber of echoes, Elon observed that the highest performers in every domain, the greatest generals, the greatest artists, the greatest sovereign trainers had all discovered this one simple secret. They all learned to act without forcing. The ancient Taoists called this Wu Wei, effortless action, not passivity, not laziness, not something far more precise than either. Mastery. So now I want to be precise about something because this is where people misunderstand. Continuing. what Wu Wei actually is. It's not giving up. It's not about hoping the market goes your way while you sit on the couch, even though that'd be great, right? It's something far more dangerous than passivity. Now, you watch two people punch, or two people that are in a ring, like UFC, whatever. Majority of these people, well, I'm not going to generalize, but let's say the beginner majority time does all the time. His muscle in his body is tense. His cleanses his jaw, his shoulders, his fists. He puts so much effort, maximum effort into the strike, but it lands weak. While you see the master is loose. His arm is completely relaxed until the last possible microsecond of contact. And then everything fires effortlessly, perfectly timed. But the thing is, that strike lands with devastating force. The beginner uses effort while the master simply just flows. That same principle governs wealth. When you grip your portfolio too tightly, you're the beginner. Every red candle triggers fear. Every green candle triggers greed. You're acting to the reflection instead of mastering what you project into the mirror. Your biology notice. Your nervous system though has these two states, fight or flight, or relax, where you receive expansion, creativity, intuition. You can only access genuine market insight from that relaxed state. When your cortisol is flooding your brain, you're literally locked out of the very intelligence you're trying to use, which is the cruel irony of desperation. The harder you try, you're simply dumber you become. Ilion mapped 3 laws inside that chamber, and I call them the 3 laws of quantum wealth flow. The first law is detachment is not indifference, it's a precision, right? In quantum physics, the observer effect tells us the act of constant measurement collapses the probability wave. And when you're checking your portfolio every 10 minutes, or every 20 minutes, or every 5 minutes, you're collapsing the field of your own wealth. You're forcing a fixed outcome through obsessive observation and killing the quantum uncertainty that generates opportunity. That's when Jesus proclaimed, when you leave things in God's hand, it's for a reason. A very, very smart reason. The sovereign trader builds his own system. He executes his entries, then he closes the app. He operates from a place of knowing, not needing. The second law is called signal over noise. The market generates thousands of signals per day. And most of the average trader processes is simply noise. The reason they cannot distinguish signal from noise is that their internal environment is simply chaotic. Fear, urgency, hope, desperation. When your internal state is calm and coherent, your ability to perceive true signal improves dramatically. You begin to see what others miss, not because you are smarter, it's simply because you're quieter, which is when coherent consciousness perceives coherent patterns. Simply that's all it is. But now the third law, surrender to the strategy, never to the market. The most destructive thing a trader can do is go off plan in the middle of a trade, which is desperation behavior, as I mentioned earlier. The ego is trying to outsmart the system you built from a place of clarity. You built a strategy from calm. Now trust that version of yourself, not the version at the screen at 2 a.m. who hasn't slept in 36 hours. The 2 a.m. version is not you. That is scarcity vortex wearing your face. Now, we have to go a little bit deeper because the patterns I just described, the gripping, the desperation, the obsessive checking, they are not random habits. They are programmed responses. They come from a core belief installed long before you ever heard the word crypto. And that belief is this: I am not safe unless I control the outcome. That belief was probably running before you were 10 years old. Maybe your family didn't have enough. Maybe you watched your parents fight over bills over and over. And that money is hard to get and easy to lose. And so you learn to grip. You learn the only way to survive was to push harder than anyone else around you. But in the quantum realm, this survival pattern is actually liability, not an asset. Because even as you accumulate, even as your numbers grow, you're still broadcasting your frequency of lack. The belief underneath this, that there's never enough, and the simulation renders to what you project. This is why lottery winners go broke. This is why the person who finally gets the raise somehow still lives paycheck to paycheck. They change the number in their account, but they never change the signal in their soul. You cannot hold quantum wealth with scarcity consciousness. Think of water. Water fills whatever container you give it. But if a container has cracks, subconscious leaks in your belief system, no matter how much you pour in, it will always seep out. Your cracks sound like this. Let me know if you heard this. Rich people are corrupt. I don't deserve more than I was given. Wealth is fragile and can be taken at any moment. Every one of those beliefs is a crack in the container. Until you seal them, you're working against your own physics. Now, so here is the protocol, not philosophy, practice. Step 1, the pre-trade state check. There we go. Before you open a chart, before you make any financial decision of significance, ask yourself these 3 questions. Am I calm or am I stressed right now? Am I making this from clarity or from fear? Would the calm version, rested version of me make the exact same move? If the answer is no to any of these questions, close the laptop, go for a walk, call your mom, take your woman out, take your man out, whatever the boat flows, and come back when the noise has cleared. Not because you're missing an opportunity by waiting, you're actually protecting yourself. Now, step 2, build something called what I call a quantum journal. Every day, 3 entries: the financial move you didn't, or you almost made from fear, but didn't, the signal you saw clearly because you were calm, and the pattern in your portfolio will mirror the pattern in your psychology. In over 30 days, this journal becomes a map of your own interference patterns, and you will see exactly what that scarcity vortex activates. And the moment you see it clearly, its power over you begins to simply dissolve. Now, step 3, define what wealth actually means. Most people measure wealth by outcomes, the number in their account, net worth. Cool, good for you. Sovereign traders actually measure wealth by process, the quality of decision making. When you shift the metric from result to process, the desperation dissolves, because now you're measuring something you cannot actually control. Well, no, you're actually measuring something you actually can control. You cannot control the market, but you can absolutely control whether you execute your system from a place of clarity and discipline. This shift is not psychology, simply logical. When you stop measuring by outcome, you take the survival brain offline. And when survival brain goes bye-bye, the creative intuition, pattern recognition, that mind comes back online. That is the mind that builds wealth, real wealth, compound over time. So here's a promise of the architect. When you stop gripping something that appears, not because God, or as you would say, the universe, rewards patience as a virtue, but because the physics of your internal state has shifted the probability field around you. Now you begin to see opportunities that were always there but invisible to your stressed eyes. You begin to hear information in conversations you would have probably dismissed 100% of the time, because you begin to act from a strategy instead of panic. So that strategy will continue to compound, but panic will always destroy. An Ilion sits in the chamber watching the threads of probability. Some threads are thick, golden, pulsing with sovereign energy. These belong to traders who have mastered their internal state. Not necessarily smarter, definitely not luckier. You're just simply quieter. That's it. And in the quantum field, the quietest signal carries the most power. We're not born to chase wealth like a rat pressing lever waiting for the next pellet. You were designed to attract it. The way a magnet does not chase iron fillings. It simply becomes itself fully, and the iron becomes. So stop chasing and start becoming. The market is basically waiting for you, for that version of you that simply does not need it. So if this cracks something open, if you felt the truth in this, the way I felt it writing it, then like this video, seal the frequency in, and subscribe to stay connected to the quantum wealth framework. And tell me in the comments, why are you gripping right now? What financial move are you trying to name? Name it. Actually, what financial move? Yeah, what financial move are you trying to force? Then name it so you can dissolve it together. And I'll see you in the flow.